But here's what I've learned along my journey of almost 30 years doing this is that push against that. Don't take the time off, put the time in, because winter can be the best season of your year in order to build your business and set yourself up for success next year. Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Man, what another great year, right? We're pushing into fall here, 2025. And I don't know about you guys, but, I'm always happy when the summer slows down and the fall kicks in. I know that changes to maintenance and cleanup and all that kind of stuff, possibly for you or not. But I know that it feels like there's a rest coming, and there's holidays coming, there's winter coming. Here in Pennsylvania, often have 9 months of construction and we have 3 months off. That was very much the common rotation or cadence we had with the business for years and years and years. And you know what? I used to take the bait. I used to jump in. We never plowed snow. That was never our thing. It was always construction for us. So we had a 3-month downtime. And man, was I always looking forward to that. As much as I hated watching the accounts drain and the money go out the door, nothing really coming in, I really was excited about not being needed, not having the responsibility of the men and the equipment and the constant need from the customers and all of that. But here's what I've learned along my journey of almost 30 years doing this is that push against that. Don't take the time off, put the time in, because winter can be the best season of your year in order to build your business and set yourself up for success next year. Now, a lot of contractors will go out and they will do their work and they will finish up by the end of the year. They'll pack it in. If they plow snow, they do. If they don't, maybe they go hunting or they go fishing, whatever, ice fishing or snowmobiling, or they get away. Let's put it that way. They disconnect. Maybe they go with the family on a vacation. They kind of shut down during the winter. Then come springtime, the phone starts ringing again and you pick up your overalls, you put them back on, you get your boots on and you go back to work again. And, I've seen so many and I've coached so many companies who they say they have 20 years experience in this industry. And really the truth is they basically have 1 year experience repeated 20 years in a row. Each year they want to grow, but they don't put the work in that it takes to grow. They want more money in their bank account, but they never educate themselves, spend the time to do that, educating themselves or their teams on how to best do that. So really, when the work slows down, most contractors think it's time to relax. But if you're serious about growth, this is the time they get to work on your business, not just in it. So often we get out there putting fires out and we're constantly working, trying to keep our customers happy, trying to keep our bank accounts happy, trying to keep our wives happy, all of those things. And in that, we don't have time to start working, actually in the business or on the business. We're totally in the business constantly and totally out there just doing stuff. We have a hard time finding good employees that can take over your role. And it seems daunting, like this is a responsibility you're going to have for the rest of your life. That you're like, man, if I want a business, I'm going to have to constantly keep showing up and doing all the stuff that I may or may not like to do anymore to keep this thing going because I just can't find anybody else that can do it for me or that can replace me or that I can delegate to. So this gives us the opportunity. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I know you guys have all thought about, hey, I've got wintertime, I can educate, but what are you doing with that time to sharpen your systems? What are you doing in that time to strengthen your sales game? What are you doing in that time to set up for a breakthrough year, not just another year of the same as last year with the hope of making more money this time around? What are you doing right now? I know there's a lot of options out there in our industry for education. You can go to events, you can read books, you can take on training, all of that stuff over the winter. What are you willing to commit to help take your business to the next level? Or are you going to be like a lot of contractors out there who just say, you know what, I got through this year, I'm taking off, I'm hanging my shoes up, I'm going to take a few weeks or months off here, and I'm going to enjoy my life a little bit and then get back in the grind again next year. If that's your mentality, that's fine, but don't expect there to be a lot of growth next year. Just hoping and praying for more is not going to necessarily get you what you want. Now, prayers are very important, of course, but at the same time, we have to also put the action in as professionals. We can't just sit here and hope that everything happens or we get better leads for the next year or whatever. What are you doing to build a better flow of leads for your company? This is the time right now. This is the time coming up that you can start making those decisions, working with your team, putting them around one table. Start discussing things that are important to your company that you can all be rowing in the same direction. Because once the sun warms up in the spring and the snow melts off, it's back to grind time. And pretty soon, it's the holidays again. And we're back to the same cycle. We have to be purposeful with our time. And the way we do that is by setting expectations within our company and also setting expectations within ourselves about what we need to do in order to have a breakthrough year next year. How can next year be the best year we've ever had? And what I've learned over the years is that just by watching successful people, I've been so blessed to be surrounded by and have mentors in so many portions of my life. And I find mentors and events and things like that to pull me toward where I want to go. I say, all right, Joshua wants to be here in 5 years. Let's find people that are already there. How can we glean from them? How can we pull ideas from them? How can we look at how they're doing things in their businesses and in their lives that I can start integrating and learning now? And the crazy part is that I have this CANI principle, this constant and never-ending improvement. And I'm constantly asking myself, how can I make this better? And that's a powerful question. When it comes to business, how can I make each and every system? How can I make each and every conversation better? When it comes to relationships, the same way, and at home. When it comes to equipment or trucks, it would be, hey, how can I make this more efficient? How can I cut 2 or 3 steps off for my crew? These are the kinds of things that I thought about all the time back when I had crews. Was how can I make this more efficient? How can I make sure they have all the tools they need, that they're not running out to Lowe's or Home Depot to go buy that thing and taking up 4 hours of our day, one guy, just to go get a roll of duct tape because we didn't have any in the trailer? Why don't we have a case of it back at the shop? Why isn't somebody in charge of making sure that there's at least 3 rolls on the truck or the trailer every single day? Taking the time now to create those systems to save you the headaches later. It is so, so important. Now, I'm talking to the guys and girls out there that are up anywhere you get snow and a shutdown in the winter. But some of you guys across the southern areas, you don't have shutdowns. You go year round. But you do have seasons in the sense that certain clients want to buy outdoor living spaces in certain seasons and others have a little bit less. So with that, find that hole in your schedule, a space where you don't have as much going on, and think about how can I fill it with ways to work on the business? Here's some suggestions that I've found over the years that have been extremely good. Start with your operations. Go through every truck and trailer and tool. Ask, is this ready to support my best year ever? All the way down to your shovels, pitchforks. Are they the most efficient? Are they the best? Are they in good shape? Let's make sure we get, if there's different trailers, which trailer we used to take a colored electrical tape and we would wrap each of the handles in those tapes, like down around the neck of the handle. And if everything was yellow in one trailer, then every tool that was yellow went back to that trailer. So things didn't get, misplaced or left on job sites. So we knew exactly which shovel went to which trailer. And then when we were there, we knew that two shovels had to be there. So when we did our inventory before we left, we knew that everything was in place before we left and something wasn't left on site or wasn't broken or run over. If it was, let's get it on the list to buy so we can get it taped up and back in the trailer for use again. So go through your entire trailer or truck and make sure that all of your tools are fixed, that they're ready to go, that there's any engines that need to be tuned up or replaced or whatever it might be for you, blades, saws, anything. Make sure that you're getting all of that prepped and ready for the next year. This way you can save time when you're producing throughout the year. You can save time and not have to be thinking, oh crap, that's right, that was broken from last year. I just took the time off and I didn't actually get all that stuff done. And now it's all of a sudden it's warm, because you know how fast those few months go in the winter, guys. They go fast, so much faster than summer, it seems at times. Next is to create simple SOPs for your crews to move faster, right? That's at the end of the day, if you have clarity, if you can keep it very clear for your employees and your team members, creating processes. This is how our company works. Your crews are going to move faster and make fewer mistakes if they know what's expected of them. That's really what it is. Constantly making it easier. But don't do this on your own, owners. Don't go do this because you're afraid to bring the guys in. Bring them in and start talking about why you're taping the handles a certain color, and have them throw in ideas on how to make things more efficient, because they're the guys and the girls out there that are actually touching these things. And these decisions, they impact those crews' future. And think about it. How hard is it to force somebody to follow your rule or your want for them when you tell an employee, hey, you know what, you've got to mark each shovel with tape and put it in the right place, or you're going to be fired, or you're going to get docked, or whatever it might be, forcing somebody into following. Or whether they're sitting there and you ask a question like, hey, how could we make sure that we get the right tools back in the right trailer? And then let the team start talking about that. Well, we could do this and this and this, and just let them move through it. Then you could suggest, what if we if they don't come to it on their own, of course. What if we just taped up the handles with a different color and know that that trailer is always yellow and that trailer is always red? Could that work? Yes, that'd be great. Who wants to head that initiative? And somebody raises their hand and off they go taping things up. You're going to have a much better follow through and you can build That's as simple as building SOPs is. That idea of standard operating procedures can be so daunting to business owners when you're constantly thinking like, man, I got to have all this stuff laid out. I don't even know how to do this. I love to build stuff. I didn't sign up for all this business crap. I just want to build stuff and make money. And these are the things that can be done so simply. SOPs are no more than just setting up a standard in a way that your business works. And you can do that just like the shovel example, just like the tape example. It's simple things, making sure somebody's in charge of the fuel cans to make sure they're always full and mixed properly if need be. Who's in charge of that? And keep asking this question. How can I make this better? If you consistently ask that question, you will grow. That is a question that the growth mindset in the Kanai principle, growth mindset encompasses, always thinking about how can I make this better? Now, you go from your equipment to your team meetings and even your project handoffs. Every touch can be improved. Sit down with your team during these times when things are slower. Sit down with them this winter and say, guys, look, we did great last year, or we didn't do that well last year, or we just broke even, whatever it is for you, and think, okay, team, how can we streamline what we're doing? Where is the fat? Where can we cut the fat at? And you're going to be amazed if you bring your team on and have a conversation around this, how they're going to bring ideas to the table that you never even thought about. Man, they are so much more in the game than you think they are. And their ability to see and potentially even streamline some of your operations is going to be huge. And by asking that question, how can we make this better? And instilling that in your team, you create a team of people constantly looking for ways to make your business better. I mean, what else do we want as owners than that? Instead of it just being us trying to figure out how we can make things better, how we can make more money, how we can work a little less, how we can empower our teams with more responsibility and delegate more off our plate. Imagine if you had this opportunity to have them be part of that growth. That secret question, how can I make things better? If you do that year over year, your growth is going to be crazy. It's amazing how that works because you're starting to put that sense into their mind. You're starting to put that into their brains where they're thinking like, man, this is good. My boss, my mentor, my whoever the relationship is, wants me to constantly think and throw ideas into the kitty here. I wonder if you'd listen. And sometimes, let's face it, business owners, sometimes you've already thought of these things, but you've had a hard time getting your teammates to implement them. So the way you get around that is by knowing that that's the fact and go in and ask them how they would solve the problem. And potentially you can lead them back to your idea or to the best idea, because it doesn't have to just be yours. Oftentimes your teams have ideas that are very valuable. We have to be very careful that we're not trying to overpower them because we're the boss and they're the teammates and the employees. Also, next, this is a huge one. Shift into education and expansion. What skill or systems you need to improve before spring? We see it all the time when it comes to qualifying leads. Learn how to qualify them like a pro. So often we get so excited to see that phone kicking up in the spring and all those calls, we finally feel like, wow, I was holding my breath all winter. Now it's finally happening again. The phone's not broken. I mean, there's times I'd actually call my own phone to see if it worked because it wasn't ringing. And then all of a sudden it comes in one big push like it does every year, right? One big push. But what are we going to do in the spring when everything now, we have it dialed in, we're focusing on growth, and we get to a point where the phone starts ringing and everything goes to chaos again. We're right back down to chasing every lead again. We're right back down to, yes, Mrs. Jones, I'll be out tomorrow. And then pretty soon that list gets further and further out. And you're like, man, I gotta think about it. How much time do I have for each customer? How fast can I get through the selling process to get them to say yes, to ink a check for me so that I can move on to the next one? And constantly investing time in people who aren't able to say yes because they're either way too early in their buying journey, or you just didn't ask them the questions that really unlocked the keys, unlocked that lock for them to say yes to you, right? So it's a matter of how do I better qualify those leads so I know I'm spending the time with the right ones so I can have more time throughout the entire year to spend working on my business and not just wait until that time frame when you're slower, whether it's winter time or whatever it is for you guys, to start working on it. Working on your business is something that should be a weekly thing, a daily thing really, but at a minimum weekly if you want to grow. If you don't and you just want to own your job, then quit growing and just sit there and do what you've done forever and be that guy or that girl who has 20 years experience but truly only has 1 year experience repeated 20 times. Another thing to start considering is, how do you teach your teams how to stop selling features and start selling outcomes? This is a huge one that I go into deep in the Core 10 sales playbook, deep about the idea of how do we go from just logical selling to emotional selling? Because let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, the sale is not made on a logical purchase of another 400 square foot of pavers in their backyard. Most customers, they're not coming into the relationship to get that. If that was the case, you could bring a couple of cubes, put them on the backyard, mow around them. They'd have 400 square foot sitting on pallets. But that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for an emotional experience they're going to get from said patio. But if we come in there as vigilantes, as soon as they say, I need a patio, and you say, no problem, I'll get you a proposal on a patio, you're selling the feature. We need to be much more educated in how to help work on the outcome they're after, not necessarily the feature that they're asking for. Now, I go deep on that subject in the book and offer lots of ways to do that. And we'll get to that here in the future as the book gets closer to being finished. But really getting into, how do you sell? First, how do you qualify? And then once you have the right people in front of you, how do you help them to the best outcomes? Because when you're the one that does that, when you're the one that helps them get to where they want to go better than anybody else, the chance of you closing that project at a premium price significantly goes up, significantly. So we need to work on that. There's nothing you can work on in the winter. How to improve your present value and set expectations is another thing we can work on. So much when it comes to expectations is lost based on what somebody else thought they were going to get. When your customer believes they're going to get so much more than what you painted the picture in your proposal for, or what you told them you're going to get, or you said you were going to include an extra bed in the proposal, and then it didn't get done. And then when it didn't get done, the next thing you know, the customer's like, well, man, I don't know what happened, because this is what they told me, but you don't remember that conversation. You just told them yes so you can get the project. They signed a check, and then you didn't do it. Next thing you know, the client's pissed off, and an otherwise great project turned into a complete one-star review and a disgruntled client. So it is very important for you to think about during this downtime, improve how you're presenting your value and how you're setting expectations through process and step-by-step systems, so your customer knows exactly what you're going to deliver each and every time, so you can minimize those awkward conversations and those change orders that you knew were change orders because the customer asked for that extra bed, but you said, yeah, I can take care of it, with this whole idea that you're going to charge them later for it, because of course nobody gets nothing for free. And then when you go back to that customer at the very end for your final payment, you say, look, Mrs. Jones, you owe me $5,000 for plus this $1,000 for the additional bed. And she says to you, what do you mean $1,000 for this additional bed? You said you could take care of it. I didn't know you were going to charge me for it. And now you've got a bitter client because you could have communicated better in the beginning. If you would have communicated better with a change order, she would have said yes or no to that. And when it came time to show her the final invoice, she'd be ready to stroke that $6,000 check, no problem. But if you don't have the guts to talk about numbers in the beginning, you're going to deal with the repercussions of that avoidance later in the conversation. So we can't assume that our customers know whenever they add is going to cost them more, because they A, don't know how much more, and then B, they don't know just how generous you are, because it's a landscaping project. Seriously, what's a little bit more mulch or a little bit more time? This is how they think. We have to know that about them, and we have to set expectations. Also, another thing to work on is to become a better communicator for your team and for your clients. You know, something I struggle with, I'm more of an introvert, and I get wore out talking to people all the time. And there's many times where I'm like, I'm only good for a couple of conversations a day, and I got to go back and get other work done. I know that about myself, and I'm working on becoming a better, not necessarily extrovert, but better when it comes to communication and sharing time with people. It actually is something that, and I know this is very common in our industry, but it's, most of us love to build stuff with our hands. We're not really out there to just be conversationalists and be better communicators. That's not something that I was very privy to growing up. I didn't realize that in business, you had to become a great communicator, not just for your clients, but also for your team. If you want to lead them, you got to know how to communicate with them. And communication so often isn't about being the loudest. It's not about being the one in the front. It's the one that asks the best questions. And that's what I've learned from mentors of mine over many, many years. And when I watch them and why they're so successful in life, not just financially, but also spiritually and peacefully inside of themselves and health-wise and all that stuff, one thing I've learned is that they know how to communicate and ask great questions to get answers that help move them forward. And that's what helps a leader, is being a better communicator. Again, it doesn't mean you have to become somebody who can get on a stage and talk to 10,000 people. That's not necessarily what a communicator is for everyone. A communicator is simply someone who can ask a great question to his child or to his wife or to his team or to himself or herself. Becoming a better communicator will open the doors in your life like nothing else. It has completely changed my life. And that's why I've made it now my life's mission to help others with communication. Because once you can open those doors with great questions and understand what it means to be fully aware and being aware of yourself and others and all of that, it changes the game and not only makes you feel more peaceful inside and full and more joyful, but also it helps build a bank account so you can have more to give more. Also, something else to work on is to strengthen your sales process. Do you even have a sales process? What is your step-by-step way that your client experiences your company from first call or from contact form all the way to the end of the project? All of that is sales, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just the part up to they sign the first check. Sales is through the entire process. This is something that we do for our clients, not to our clients. The sales process is something that can revolutionize the way you build and grow your company and also how you talk to your people and how they then convey the story to their friends who become a great referrals for you. You know, referral is one of the best things you can get, right? So how are you strengthening your sales process? Are you building or refining your entire qualifying system? Or are you just going to use the same thing you've been using for years and hope for better results next year? Have you set up a clear script or flow or how to handle leads? Is there a way you could do that more efficiently? Have you trained your team to speak with clarity and confidence? Or are they kind of just winging it, doing it their own way each and every year, hoping like heck it's going to be different next year? Is it something that you're even considering? How do we make them more efficient? Because, you know, a salesperson, their objective is, yes, to make money, but it's also to win. They want to go out and they want to talk to customers and they want to have a way that they can win more often. And the side effect of that is the money they get. Plus, then you get to grow your company. And if you're the salesperson, it's a win-win together. So the more professional your communication, the more premium your projects, and the easier the close. So what I'm suggesting here, guys, is something you can take it or leave it. It's up to you. But invest in your people. Don't lose your top employees to boredom or side gigs because they don't know where the heck you're going or what you're doing or that you're not even willing to invest in their education. This isn't just about you being the owner constantly out there learning. Your goal as an owner and as a leader is to empower your team. And the way you empower your team is by helping them grow too. And at the end of the day, we build backyards, but more we're building people, right? We're building people, we're transforming backyards, and we're transforming the lives of the people on our teams, not just through the work, but through the education and the opportunities for them to connect with other people and to grow their skill set to become even more capable and even more dangerous in their specific gifts. So make sure you're investing in them. And that could be a simple book reading project where you pick a book as an owner and you guys go through it chapter by chapter each week. Maybe it's some YouTube videos, maybe it's a training course, perhaps it's a live event, whatever it might be. Realize that you have incredible people showing up each and every day to your business, and what they want to do is grow. Because progress in life equals happiness. The more we're progressing, the more we're growing, the more empowered we feel. Use the downtime to train them, develop their leadership, their technical skills, and even their sales ability. And guys, when I talk about sales ability, I'm not talking about just your salespeople. Every single person in your company is a salesperson. Everyone that touches or shows forward to the client is a salesperson, whether you're the installer, whether you're the actual quote unquote salesperson with that title, whether you're the designer, whether you're the girl that takes the first call into the office. Everybody is a salesperson. They all need to be trained in a way that they can be most valuable to that customer and make sure they're good fits very much along the way. And even your crews on site, think about how many opportunities there are to help enhance the project as you move forward with a customer. That's until they see it on their property, they really don't get a good idea of what this project could be. And when they start seeing it come to life, they see all the plannings going in, they see the lighting for the first time at night. All of a sudden they start seeing that new patio and they start seeing the water feature. They're like, wow, I really wish we would have. And if your guys aren't listening, they may not pick up on Mrs. Jones saying that. Maybe they wanted to add that pergola, but thought it wouldn't fit in the budget or didn't think they needed it. And then once they walk the space, they're like, oh, I wish I would have done that. And if she just says that as a side note, and one of your guys isn't listening, the next thing you know, you'll be like, wow, okay. Or another way that you could even hear that is, boy, I love all this space, but maybe she walks out when the guys are working and finishing up. It's like, man, I wish I had more shade out here. And then she walks in the house, feels defeated, and that's that. And she puts an umbrella out there. But if one of the guys would have picked up on that and be like, oh, wait a minute here. Let's start talking about that. What could that be? So tell me a little bit more, Mrs. Jones, about what shade would look like for you out here. Well, I really I really thought about, I was going to use an umbrella, but it looks so beautiful. I'd really rather a pergola, but I don't know if I really want to spend the extra money. Well, hey, let me get you in touch with somebody. We can see what that looks like. We're finishing up the project, and we can always add that in come here in the future. And the next thing you know, you've got your crews out there selling for you. That's why this is a company-wide conversation, not just siloed to one person in the business. It is so important because when you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 20, 50 sets of ears listening and knowing what to do next when it comes to communication, changes the game. Changes the game. So when spring hits, your team's either going to be sharper, faster, or more loyal, or they're not going to be. And why this matters is off-season isn't just a dead time, it's a prep time. It's a launch pad for spring. That's not only just busy time, how that normally works in the spring. So don't coast into the new year, build into it. This is the important part. Take this time, utilize it. So remember, winter isn't the break, it's a gift. And when you use it, how you use it will define what kind of year you're about to have. Don't take time off, put time in. Now, it is very important for you to take time for your family, of course. That is a priority, number one priority. But when it comes to the time you have extra to work on the business, invest in it. Because unless you want to repeat last year all over again, until you grow, your business is never going to grow. Your future self and your business will thank you for taking that time and doing it. So guys, thanks for listening. Talk to you next week. What if you could close 75% of your projects without chasing, convincing, or dropping your price? That's not a dream, that's the mission. Mission 75. Here at Yes Express Sales Academy, we are spearheading a bold shift to help outdoor living contractors sell with confidence, not desperation. Because let's be real, you've been told to just give them a good price and hope for the best. You've been trained to beg for work and give away your time and compete with contractors who don't even play at your level. That ends now. I wrote the Core 10 Sales Playbook because it's the system I desperately needed 20 years ago. It's built for real-world, design-build contractors, not guys in suits. Inside, I'll show you how to qualify leads in minutes, speak to emotion, not features, cut confusion and eliminate ghosting, lead the sales call with calm authority, and close premium jobs without flinching. That book drops in January 2026. Check out the show notes to get on the list to be the first in line to grab your copy of the Core 10 Sales Playbook before they're gone. This isn't about working harder, it's about selling smarter, and it starts now. Let's raise the standard together.